The people of Israel have just crossed the Jordan on dry ground. Now, in Joshua chapters 4 to 6, they take their first steps into the promised land, not just with swords and strength, but with obedience, worship, and wonder. These chapters show us that victory begins in the heart, through remembrance, renewal, and trusting God's timing. Take 12 stones from the midst of the Jordan, and carry them over with you. Joshua 4:3 While the priests still stand in the dry riverbed holding the Ark of the Covenant, God instructs Joshua, one man from each of the 12 tribes should take a stone. These stones are stacked at Gilgal to create a memorial. The purpose? So that future generations would ask, what do these stones mean? So that all the peoples of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty. Joshua 4:24 Joshua also sets up a second memorial, 12 stones placed where the priests had stood in the Jordan. God doesn't want us to forget where we came from or who brought us through. Spiritual maturity begins with gratitude and remembrance. Before they face Jericho, God tells Joshua to circumcise the new generation. All the people born in the wilderness had not been circumcised. Joshua 5:5 It's a sign of renewing covenant. Though this generation hadn't seen Egypt, they needed to choose faithful identity before entering the land. Then, Israel celebrates Passover at Gilgal, marking the very night God delivered their ancestors from Egypt. After this, the manna ceased, and they ate of the produce of the land. Joshua 5:12 is the end of wilderness provision. Now, they will eat from the land God promised. Then comes a stunning encounter. A man stood before him with a drawn sword. I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Joshua 5:13-14 Joshua removes his sandals, it is holy ground. Before we face our Jerichos, God wants to face our hearts. He prepares us through covenant, worship, and reverence. See, I have given Jericho into your hand, Joshua 6:2 But God doesn't tell them to storm the city with weapons, he tells them to march in silence. For 6 days, the priests lead with the Ark of the Covenant. 7 trumpets blow, but the people remain silent. On the 7th day, they circle the city 7 times, then all the people shout. The wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city. Joshua 6:20 Everything in Jericho was to be devoted to destruction, except Rahab and her family. But Rahab the prostitute lived in Israel to this day. Joshua 6:25 Her act of faith back in chapter 2 led to her salvation and legacy. God's power isn't unlocked through formulas, it flows through faithful obedience, even when his instructions seem unusual. Imagine walking silently around the same walls day after day, with nothing changing. But the lesson is this: faith walks even when nothing happens, until the moment everything does. God doesn't always explain every step, but he asks us to trust him with the next one. Joshua 4-6 reveals 3 pillars of victorious living. In chapter 4, we're called to remember what God has done. In chapter 5, we're called to renew our commitment before the battle. In chapter 6, we're called to walk in faith, even when we don't fully understand. God doesn't just give land, he forms people. And he tears down walls not by power, but through worship, obedience, and trust. Today, our Jerichos may not be physical walls, but pride, fear, addiction, doubt, or pain. And just like Israel, we overcome not by strength, but by listening and following God's voice.